All right, so you can write at the top of this, give it a little heading here. Financial ratios. So we're going to be comparing things, okay? Some very important definitions here. An asset is something that can be turned into cash, right? An asset, anything that like you'll have to do, you'll be given a list of things that a person has, and you'll have to determine which ones of these are assets. Those are things that can turn into cash you own. And liabilities, I'm going to use a different color for liabilities. And liabilities are monies owed, debts, or monetary obligations. Okay? Can I say this? To summarize assets, think of something you actually own. Liability is what you owe. Okay? And this is where it gets complicated. Listen to this part. You could own a car that's worth $12,000, right? You own it. Okay, assets, $12,000. But then you can have a loan on it for $10,000. So the asset is $12,000. The loan is a liability, $10,000. So that's what you have to watch out for. Net worth is the difference. I'm going to use a different color altogether for this one. Net worth is the difference between all the assets and all the liabilities. So I'm sure you've heard of people's net worth. That's actually if they were to like pay off all of their debt and sell all they have and pay off all their debt, how much would they be left with? That is your net worth. Okay? Debt equity ratio, a measure of financial health that is based on your net worth. As a general rule, for debt equity ratio, it should not exceed 50%. Then there's the gross debt service ratio, the GDSR. It's a percentage of your gross annual income required to cover payments associated with housing. Payments include the mortgage principal, property tax, so mortgage principal and interest, property taxes, and sometimes include secondary financing, such as condominium fees and so forth. As a general rule, it should not exceed 32%. So your gross debt service ratio should not exceed 32%. This one, guys, put a star into it. This is the one that banks use most often, the GDSR. They use that to determine whether or not you're going to qualify for a mortgage. It compares housing to your income. Therefore, because of this rule right here, because of the GDSR, which should not exceed 32%, the maximum that you can spend on housing ever, according to the bank, is about a third of your income. So 0.32 of your monthly income. And the maximum that you can spend on your mortgage payment on your actual house is the maximum spent on housing minus heat minus property taxes. This box, I need you to have that on your study sheets. This is not on any formula sheet that you're going to get, nothing like that. So you have to have both of these and make sure you write out the whole thing so you know what it's asking for. Okay? Okay. Then there is, so remember the 0.32, the 0.32 comes from the fact that you should not spend more than 32% of your income on housing. Otherwise, you're going to be house poor. They call that if you spend more than 32% of your income on a house. Total debt service ratio, that's another one, the TDSR. It's the percentage of your gross annual income required to cover all of your debts, right? To cover all debts and housing. It's very similar to the GDSR, except for other debts are added in. As a general rule, your TDSR should not exceed 40%. And here's the beast of the formulas, okay? I want you to make sure you have these formulas on your study sheets. And watch this, right? Your net worth is always total assets minus total liabilities. Okay? Debt equity ratio is total liabilities minus your mortgage divided by the net worth times 100. Watch this, gross debt service ratio, the GDSR. The question will ask you, you won't have to guess. Calculate the GDSR for a person. Use this formula. Monthly mortgage payment, watch this. It says monthly mortgage payment, monthly property taxes, and monthly housing costs. Why do I emphasize monthly? Because sometimes they will give you the yearly amount. So what do you have to do if they give you the yearly amount? Divide it by 12. Okay? And by the way, down here as well, monthly income. All of that by 100. So let's make sure we understand this. The debt equity ratio should be less than 50%. Let's make sure we understand that. If you calculate that and if they ask you, is this person financially healthy? If this ratio is less than 50%, you're like, yep, they are. Okay? Gross debt service ratio, this should be less than 32%. That's when you are going to be approved for the mortgage. And the total debt service ratio should be less than 40%. So these are called the magic numbers. Okay, I'm going to say that one, and that one are the magic numbers. Meaning, if the province asks you to justify your answer, they want to see you mentioning those magic numbers. Okay? So debt equity ratio, you want to be less than 50. Gross debt service ratio, you want to be less than 32. Total debt service ratio, you want to be less than 40%. And watch this. Watch the difference between these two. It is really just as one. This is new, right? This part right here. So they take your housing costs, but they also add any other monthly payments you have on any other debt. And they compare it to your entire income. So that's why it's called the total service ratio. The GDSR only takes mortgage payment, property taxes, and heating costs, right? Those three, and compare it to your income. So that's the only difference between the two. Just use the correct formula. They will tell you which one to use. Okay? All right. Let's use them. Let's try a few. Go to the next page here. I have one question here. I believe that there is, I just solved it for you, just to make it a little faster. Okay? But let's say this is a classic question on a provincial exam. Your monthly mortgage payment is $1,350. So there's your $1,350. Your average monthly property taxes is $350. $335. Your heating costs is $100 a month. And watch this. Your annual income, let's use a different color for the income here. Annual is yearly, is $67,000. In addition to your housing costs, you have a personal loan with a payment of, I'm going to use a different color for that one, $250 per month. And a credit card debt where you make payments of $300 a month. If you were asked to calculate the gross GDSR, this is the GDSR. If I asked you calculate the GDSR for this person, why did I do this part right here, 67,000 divided by 12? Because it's an annual amount. So now, this is per month. You converted the income to a monthly amount. So this is the GDSR. If you wouldn't mind writing down just small GDSR right beside it. Then you add up your mortgage, your property taxes, your heating. You divide it by the monthly income. Then you multiply that by 100. Please do the top first, right? Like some students want to do everything in one shot. Add up all your housing costs, divide it by your income, you multiply it by 100, you get 31.97%. I will make a note here. Will be approved for mortgage since GDSR is below 32%. So purely speaking, when it comes to the GDSR, you do the math and you realize that this is not much, but it's slightly below 32%, you're good. You're going to be approved. We can cut this here. Cut it here. Let's say I ask you in the same question to figure out what the TDSR is. Total debt service ratio. And if you compare both formulas, the only new thing is that we included the payments to repay the other debts. Like one is credit card, one is a loan. Okay? So we add that, include that as well. So you would add anything that you repay in terms of debt. You get that. You divide it. You multiply it by 100. And you get 41.82%. In this case, will not be approved since TDSR is above 40%. So when we're looking at the total debt service ratio, you're not approved. So when that is the one I'm asking you to calculate, 40% is what we're looking for. 40% is our magic number. And since you're above it, you're not going to be approved. Have they ever done both? Never. They've never done both. They've done one or the other. I'm just doing both, like two birds, one stone kind of thing. But if it's just the GDSR they're asking for, it's just mortgage, heating, property taxes, right? Those three. You compare it to your monthly income, make sure everything is in monthly amounts, and then you get your GDSR. And in GDSR terms, we are doing okay. Okay? All right. What I want you to do, I want you to quickly look at this list here. And I want you to check off after you read every single one, you have to tell me, is this an asset? Is that an example of an asset or a liability? Just make a little check mark next to the one you think, because we're going to correct it in a bit. So there's these 10 questions. Is it an asset? Is it a liability? Can you please do that real quick? Mortgage is a liability. Because the mortgage is something, it's a loan. You owe it. You owe. So if you can answer the question, do you own it or do you owe it? Owing is liability. Is a car that you own an asset or a liability? That would be an asset. The car itself is an asset. Is a savings account, like whatever you have in savings account balance, is it an asset or a liability? That would be an asset. Is a stock portfolio an asset or a liability? That would be an asset. 6. Is a credit card balance an asset or a liability? What do you think? Liability. Is a line of credit balance an asset or a liability? A line of credit is basically, it's almost like a credit card, but it's something the bank gives you. Like it's like, hey, you've got this much money to use whenever you want. It has lower interest rates. That's the better part of it, but it is a liability. A cottage you own, that's an asset. Is a smartphone agreement with a provider such as MTS, for example, Bell MTS, an asset or a liability? That would be an asset. This gets tricky because when I made this, there was no like return at the end. Like nowadays you return your phone, like there's plans or you return it at the end. So it's a bad example, but the phone itself is technically yours, but there's a balance you would owe them if you were to return it, right? Like that you owe, or I guess if you want to break the contract, you'd have to pay them something back. That part would be a liability. Is a GIC an asset or a liability? It's an asset. GIC is a guaranteed income certificate. Remember that. It's locked in for as many years as you decide. Okay. I'm going to ask you to try 80 is going to be on you for now. I will assign a bunch of pages. You don't have to write it down just yet. I'm going to just show you how to do a net worth calculation. Let's do on page 81. Question 4. Let's do this one here. Okay, Braden's bank has the following information about his financial situation. He's got all these things here lined up. Stocks, RSP, home, personal loan, so forth. It says determine the net worth. Net worth, let's do A here. Net worth is assets minus liabilities. That's how you find a person's net worth. So when they give you a list of things, you need to decide which one is an asset, which one is a liability. Stocks would be asset. RSPs, that's your savings. Those are assets. Your home, that's an asset. A personal loan, that's a liability. A car, asset. A car loan, that's a liability. A mortgage is a liability. Okay? That's how you do it. And it depends on how you want to do it. I will just use my formula here. Net worth. I will add up all the assets. I'll go 24,000 plus 64,000 plus 225,000 plus 6,500. Okay, That is in one big bracket. Then I go minus, I'll do another bracket. There's 10,000 plus 1,800 plus 201,000. If you add up all of your assets, all of these assets is 319,500 minus, if I add up the bracket of my liabilities, total liabilities, it's 212,000. Net worth can be negative, okay guys? You can owe more than what you own. That would not be a good thing, okay? So net worth, if you subtract it, it's 106,700. So that's this person's net worth, which is pretty good. You're in the plus, right, in the positive. So that's actually a good sign. Okay, so that's how you do net worth. Sometimes they give you a list. Sometimes they just mention it in the problem. Someone owns this, has this. You have to figure out which one is asset, which one is liability. Let's cut this out here. I'm going to use the bottom here for B. Calculate the debt equity ratio. This is where you would want, like, I mean, guys, it's a debt giveaway. You just have to go look up the debt equity formula. What does debt equity ratio call for? I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to go back a little bit. It says total liabilities minus the mortgage divided by your net worth. That's how you figure it out. So let's do that. Total liabilities. What are my total liabilities? If I go up, I figured out that if I added up all my liabilities, that's 212,000 minus. I need to subtract my mortgage from it. What was my mortgage? 201,000. That answer I divide by my net worth. My net worth is 106,700. If you do this correctly, you get 11,800 divided by 106,700 times 100. I forgot to, yeah. Oh, this is wrong? Thank you. Like when I subtract these two, I get a different number? Okay. Thank you. I'm just going to check if I did this right. Did you check this already? Okay, I'm going to do this again. So this is correct. The 319,500 is correct. The liabilities is this is 212,800. So let's do this again here. The 319,500 minus. It is now correct, Lydia, because I made this correction. But good catch, I appreciate it. Like, so I made a mistake here. If this had truly not been 800, this would have been off. You're correct. So can you please just check this is 8, sorry, turn that 0 into an 8 here. So I think we're good. This, I know I made a mistake here. This 212,800. This needs to be turned into an 800 as well. In which case this is correct. Okay? 212,800 minus 201, 11,800. So we're doing good. One thing I forgot here, if you can squeeze this in, is the multiply by 100. Okay, don't forget to multiply your answer by 100. So now I divide. And I multiply by 100. So this gives me 11.06 percent. The question doesn't ask, but is this good? Is he financially healthy? What's DER? What's the magic number? 50%. You're below 50%, you're doing good. So Braden is financially, let's just put that down, financially healthy. That's what I use because the DER is below 50%. Okay? All right. I will say 80 to 84 for you to practice. Okay? I'll stop here. 80 to 84. So I'm going to page 80, and I'll just say, I will post the key. And just so you know, the key is like handwritten, like the questions are not showing up. It's just the solutions with the work, of course. But that's what you're going to get there.